Juggling life as an entrepreneur, dream chaser, and high achiever is never easy. You may know that in addition to running our own businesses, my husband and I are on a mission to radically revolutionize the world's education system. So our major philanthropy is all about building schools. So today I'm going to share with you why I'm homeschooling my son again, even though I'm running my own school while simultaneously still running our own businesses. Hey, I'm Haya. I help high-achieving, multi-passionate women create a life they absolutely love through strategy, through systems, through personal development, and through refusing to settle in any area of their life. So today we're talking about juggling and that never-ending effort to juggle work-life balance, home, family, professional goals, personal goals, and specifically we're talking about our kiddos today. So many of you are aware that several years ago, we decided to take matters into our own hands, and instead of just settling for the educational system, we decided to create something new. So my husband and I are in international business, and we have literally traveled the world, opening businesses, expanding markets into new countries. Our son has been in school on, I think, 3 or 4 different continents, and we have experienced it all. And in every different community, state, country that we have been to, we have always heard a similar frustration about local education. And what I learned across time is that education is not a local frustration. It is a global frustration. And in working with adults and helping adults in our international businesses to develop the life skills, the personal skills, the professional development skills that we missed as kids because no one ever taught them to us, we were able to see a very unique, bookend effect on looking at our own kids' schooling through education and looking back on what was missing in the adult end of education. We thought, you know what, we have got to do something about this. And as lifelong entrepreneurs, we know that if we don't like something, we either have to just be willing to settle for it anyway, or go out and create something on our own. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, how we ended up with the mission to revolutionize education. So even though my son has traveled the world with us and I've homeschooled him multiple times, he's 13 and a half now, and I've been homeschooling him on and off since he was 3. And we have done different versions of me schooling him. We've had tutors and nannies. He's been in traditional school. He's been in Montessori school. He's been in private school. We did a little bit of unschooling during the pandemic. So we have done it all. Well, except for public school. And I was raised in public school. So I feel pretty confident saying that we have done it all. So why am I sharing that with you? Because it seems almost counterintuitive. Like, if I am building a school and a school system, why don't I just put my kid in the school that we're building? Well, we did that. In fact, I will say that my son was the original catalyst for why we started schools and made a commitment to build schools and revolutionize education to begin with. And the first school that we opened was centered around his age group because that was our most immediate need. So this past year, we wrapped up our 3rd year with our pilot school, our first school in the Phoenix area. You see, we have a dream to open schools globally in every market where there is a need. And we have a dream to be able to provide this education free of charge. Because if we only could give amazing education to children and families who could afford it, the world wouldn't change at all. In fact, I just read a statistic this morning that 25% of students in America are below the poverty line, and another 45% are low-income families in low-income homes or housing. Y'all, that means 70% of the United States alone is either at or below the very low-income and poverty line. So we clearly cannot save excellent education only for those who can afford it, right? Okay, so back to the story. So this past spring, at the end of our 3rd year with our pilot school, our first school, because we are not expanding even to a second school until we have got the systems worked out and we have really excellent foundations, routines, and systems in place. You see, when we agreed and committed to open the school to begin with, we said, there's plenty of mediocre schools out there, and there are a lot of terrible schools out there. There are a few good schools and a very, very few great schools, but they are extremely few and far between. So what if we could create a revolutionary educational system that is built to empower today's generation to thrive in the ever-changing modern world and equip them with the social emotional intelligence in order to be able to lead us into tomorrow? That is what we are looking to create. But we said to ourselves, between my husband and I, if we cannot create true excellence, we have no business opening schools. We have no business being in education because, again, there are plenty of terrible, bad, and mediocre schools out there. The world doesn't need one more. So at the end of this last year, which is our third year with the school, I conducted an extremely intensive, very detailed audit of every single detail of our school. And I brought in a few experts to assist me in the audit, and we left no stone unturned. We hid nothing. And in everything that we looked at, we asked ourselves, is this excellence? And as a result of what we learned, we made a very painful decision to shave back 75% of our classes and programming and 90% of our staff. So in effect, we are almost starting over this year, year 4. We're starting this year from preschool to 3rd grade, so 3 years old to 3rd grade. And then we are going to scale and grow from there with these existing ages that we have. So next year we'll be going down to the infant toddler ages, and then with the upper limit, that 3rd grade class will grow 1 year up every year from there. Now, my son, he's 13 and a half. That means that along with all of the scaling back and the restructuring that we committed to do, I also got rid of my own son's class. Who does that? Only a crazy person, okay? But we are committed to excellence at all costs. We are sparing nothing in creating a revolutionary system for the next generation. So what that means is that I am back to looking for alternate solutions for my own child. Now there is no way I am putting him in the existing schools because of our combination of values, beliefs, and goals. Now, it doesn't mean that every school around us is bad. It just means that there is no one perfect fit for exactly what we are looking for. So as a result of that, we made another tough decision. We said, okay, are we going to put our money where our mouth is? And if we're not going to settle for anything less than excellence for the rest of the world's children, why would we do anything less than that for our own child? So my husband and I had another very, very intense heart-to-heart, and we made the decision that we are going to homeschool our son again this year, even while we are still building out this revolutionary educational system and even while we are still running our own business. So I know we got a lot of moms out there that are part of our Digging Deeper tribe, and you are fed up with education and you are at your wits' end with everything going on with COVID and the world going nuts, and you're trying to figure out, what do I do? So I want to share with you today exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it and how. Okay, you may be aware that last year during the lockdown in the US, I published an ebook that was basically all about how to manage the madness of educating your kid from home while you're building a business from home. So it's how to homeschool your kids as an entrepreneurial mom. So whether or not you are still in lockdown, first thing I will tell you is that book will still equip you, empower you, and totally transform your viewpoint and your perspective on education and what the heck to do with your kids, even if you're not homeschooling. What to do with them during lockdown, what to do with them just when you get frustrated with the current situation, whatever that may be. So if you don't have a copy of that book yet, certainly hit me up. It is a free resource that I am happy to share with you. So I want to make sure that you've got access to that you know it is out there and it's available. And it is me locking arms with you and saying, girlfriend, you got this. Here is how I have done it my entire career for the last 13 years. And it is so straightforward. It's so empowering. It's so freeing. And I can promise you, not only will it revolutionize your relationship with your child, but it will totally change your outlook on life and living as a solutions-oriented person where you do not settle for anything in your life that you don't absolutely love. So let's talk about education. So with my husband and I being like-minded and being in cahoots on this project, we broke down who was going to do what. So my husband works with my son for a little while in the mornings on the religious studies. And then once we have done that piece, then we do a whole combination of different things. And of course, how we homeschool him and what we've been teaching him has definitely changed over the years. And his homeschool at his age now looks very different than when it was younger. So again, he does his religious studies for half the day. Then we focus on character development, work ethic, and life skills. He works in the customer service for one of our companies a couple of days a week. I have him learning a foreign language through Rosetta Stone. I have a math coach work with him a couple of days a week. He does science projects from a guy that he loves online. He reads a lot. Thank goodness we worked with him from a very, very, very young age to develop a love of reading. So he reads anything and everything, like history, English literature, random fact books, and he does a little bit of supplemented online learning here and there, and then he helps out at our school. So the way you homeschool, what you homeschool, and of course, why you homeschool if you choose to do so will vary depending on your life goals, depending on the age of your kids and the dynamic that you have going on at home. I can tell you that when I was homeschooling my son by myself, without my husband being in partnership with me, I still had several hours a day of undivided focus time to build my business and focus on me time, even though I was solely and single-handedly responsible for my son's education and keeping him alive. And I go through all of that in the ebook if you want to pick that up and try to figure out, okay, I'm a single mom, how the heck do I do this? Don't worry, we've got your back there as well. Okay, but here's what I want to share with you just as the theme and the biggest takeaway from our conversation today. Be willing to think outside the box. Okay, there was never meant to be a box to begin with. Are you aware that the original founding father of education, which was over in Germany right after they were defeated by Napoleon and were putting the modern day, a few hundred years old, education in place. You know, education is the only industry that has not been forced to innovate or die in today's day and age. But that's a whole different discussion. Don't even get me started. Anywho, the founding father of education is quoted on record to have said, by the time the pupils are finished with education, we will have stamped the will out of the child. Do you understand that? And we in the great old US adopted that educational method and put it in place in the US right around the time that we were going through the Industrial Revolution and when everyone was moving out of farms into the cities and we were starting the factory work. So we wanted to keep the children alive and not being killed in the factories, so we put this main framework of education in place, and it hasn't changed since. So, there's this whole concept about mainstream education and out-of-the-box education. Whenever anyone hears this phrase, out-of-the-box education, they think it means, oh, the child must be special ed or special needs. Well, y'all, I've got a couple of things to say about that. First of all, I believe we're all special needs in some way. Secondly, I believe that special ed education is the most brilliant, genius form of education there was. And if we all had a special ed education, our lives would be so incredibly different. I don't know why we have to be almost failing in today's world in order to be taught how to succeed. And I do not know why we have to be impaired in some way to receive an excellent education. It's crazy, okay? So just please remember, never feel guilty or bad or like there's something wrong with you or your child for demanding an out-of-the-box education. Please remember, education and children were never meant to be in a box to begin with, right? So if the mainstream isn't working for you, don't let yourself get stuck there. Why are you forced to comply to a teachers union? Do you understand the absurdity of that? The teachers are there, the school system is there, the government is there to serve us and protect us. We should not be bound by these crazy rules if you do not agree with them. Now, I'm not saying that we all need to buck the system and just revolt in the street. That is not what I am recommending at all. What I am encouraging you to do is to dig deep and investigate what's going on and ask yourself, am I pleased, proud, and satisfied with the education that my children are getting? And if not, what other options do I have? Remember, I am a big believer that there is a solution to everything if we are willing to dig deep enough. And there is nothing that should stand in the way of you creating excellent options for your children. There are solutions today that are not going to break the bank. There are solutions today, and remember, you are listening to this right now as a high-achieving, multi-passionate woman, mama, who refuses to settle for the status quo. So just by default, I know you are already looking and thinking and cranking and creatively criticizing and analytically assessing the situation to look at what is the end result I want to create with my life, with my business, with my finances, with my family, with my children, and how am I going to reverse engineer my plan and my life in order to create that result, right? So if the mainstream doesn't work for you, don't let yourself get stuck there. You can create anything you want in life if you are willing to work hard enough and if you are willing to pay the price for greatness. So please, mom, please, dad, don't let yourself get sucked into thinking you have to settle for the status quo with your children and with their education. If I can do it, running multiple businesses and building schools at the same time and still handling my child and giving him an excellent education, remember, I realized many years ago that the world is our classroom. I had a dream since my son was little, like an infant, that I wanted him to see the world and experience the world as his classroom and not just read about theories in a textbook. This is how he has traveled to so many continents. This is how he has had the life experiences that he has had. Not because they were handed to me on a silver platter, because I worked hard, I worked my tail off to create those situations because I was very clear on what I wanted in life. Remember, the world makes way for people who know where they're going. And when you get committed, providence will move. You got this, mama. I know you can do it. And I am here for you, cheering for you like crazy. And I'm happy to support you in any way that I can. Bye for now.